Hi, everyone, and welcome to a Wordstream webinar. My name is Amanda. You might notice if you've attended past webinars before, you might notice something different. We decided to turn our webcams on for the intro today, kind of give it a little bit more of a personal touch and let you know that we are real, we're here, we're all in different places, but we're excited to present this to you today and wanted to give you some FaceTime first. So today, the webinar is about ad copy, 8 tips to soak up the clicks, write your best Google and Facebook ads this summer. Before we jump into the content, I just wanted to get into a little bit about Wordstream and about what you can kind of take from us. You may have found us from our blog because we have an amazing blog and awesome content writers here. We have a bunch of free tools on our website to help you gauge your performance on Google and Facebook. And we also have a software that allows you to manage your Google ads and Facebook ads on your own or with some service and help from the lovely and beautifully smart ladies that we have on the line today, like Caitlin and Bonnie. And then something that's even newer to everyone on the line is that Wordstream has recently partnered with Local IQ. And this was really to offer, managing your Google and Facebook ads is not easy, and that's why we have experts here like Bonnie and Caitlin, but sometimes you just don't have the head count or you don't have the time to manage it by yourself or even with some help. So we've partnered with Local IQ to give you a different option. Let us, Wordstream and Local IQ, take on those services for you if you really feel like you can't keep it all on your plate. So that's kind of a new offer that we're diving into here, and you can find out more on our website. And then finally, last but not least, just some logistics. This webinar is being recorded, and you will get the recording in your inbox within the next 48 hours. And also, please, please, please ask questions today. We want to do a live Q&A at the end, and we want to make sure that this content is good for you all. So let us know what you're thinking. Shoot your questions in the question box, and we'll be here to answer them at the end. And with that, I'll pass it off.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. So we're just going to do like a quick little intro before we kick things off. So hello, everyone. My name is Caitlin. I am on the CS team, and I'm specifically an onboarding specialist here at Wordstream. So really what I do, whenever a new client signs on with Wordstream, they either meet with me or a member of our team. I'm here to make sure you're set up for success and that your first 30 to 90 days using the Wordstream platform are as seamless as possible. As like a fun fact about me as well, I have 2 amazing little guinea pigs named Tipper and Dwight. I love talking about them, so any guinea pig fanatics out there, I'm your girl.
Awesome. Thanks, Caitlin. So I'm Bonnie. I've been at Wordstream for just over 2 years now. Fun fact, my 2-year anniversary was actually last week, so very exciting. I'm also on the customer success team, but I'm on a little bit of a different department than Caitlin. So I'm on the consulting side. So I consult my book of clients on how to drive more leads and conversions through paid search, paid social, and shopping. And a fun fact about me is I am an avid baker. So I really love to bake sweets, mostly the sweets, not the savory like the bread, croissant. Didn't get into the bagel phase that everyone's been doing recently. And most recently, I baked actually these gluten-free raspberry cheesecake bars for Caitlin, and she said they were amazing.
Yeah, and I'm not one to like cheesecake too often, but like those, absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
Well, guys, I know you love our beautiful faces, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn our cameras off so that we can focus on these awesome ad copy rules. So let's start with, so we're going to split this up between Google Ads and Facebook. So I'm going to be handling all of our Google Ads, and just to do a quick run through, we're going to talk about don't forget to season your ads, ad extensions, ad extensions, ad extensions, testing new ad copy with RSAs or responsive search ads, and then diving into the wonderful world of display.
Awesome. And I will be covering Facebook, and Facebook will have a little bit of a different twist to it. We're gonna discuss campaign and strategy refresh, so now's the time to do it. We want to start catering to your audience without them even knowing. Now is the time to be creative. And we're going to end it off by marrying the 2 networks together and how Google and Facebook work hand in hand.
Perfect. So jumping into Google Ads copywriting tip number 1 is don't forget to season your ads. Before I jump right into that, I wanted to do a quick refresher on just how Google search works. So just as a reminder, within your Google Ads campaign, you've gone in and diligently picked out keywords and match types, hoping that Google's going to serve your ads to the most relevant searchers. And while you have some level of control during that ads auction, Google really runs the show. They determine your ad rank by multiplying your keyword's quality score, which is probably the slowest moving metric and hardest to make improvements on, times your max cost per click. And if you rank above the first page, then they're going to show your ad. While your control in the ad auction itself is limited, something you can control is your ad copy or what serves to your searchers and your prospects. So let's do a quick moment and discuss the anatomy of an expanded text ad. So Google now lets you show 3 headlines, and these 3 headlines are 30 characters each. Just a quick refresher, keep in mind, headlines 1 and 2 are guaranteed to show. So put your most important parts in headline 1 and headline 2. Next, we have this display URL path. It's around 15 characters. Think of this as a vanity plate where you can hide a long or jumbled URL or an opportunity to direct searchers to what kind of information they'll find on that landing page. Think of it as an opportunity to also put in some of your keywords, your higher volume keywords. And last but not least, we have 2 descriptions up to 90 characters maximum. For the extensions, don't worry about that. We're going to jump into that later. But remember, what you can control is what shows up for your ads. So how frequently you update your ads is kind of debatable and really varies across industries. But one thing we really recommend is updating your ads as you go from season to season. So a hot summer tip is make sure you don't set your ads and forget them. Make sure they're relevant and update them as things across your business or across the industry changes. Don't think it has to be limited to the 4 seasons. Update your ads based on what's going on with your specific industry or even what's going on with the world. So my next slide is actually an example with one of my clients that I've been working with. It's always a good time for ad copy testing. So what I wanted to show you guys is, here's an example. You guys have probably heard of COVID, kind of a global pandemic that's been happening this year. So amidst all of the different quarantines and the lockdowns across the different states, everyone's had different timelines based off of what their governors have been mandating. And so for one of my clients, we decided to do some ad copy testing by, as they were reopening or as their locations were reopening, creating some ads to say, hey, we're open. So the first top ad that's highlighted here were ads that were saying, hey, we're still open, we're here, we're booking. And then the other 2 ads were ads that we were already running in the account. And as we were testing this out over a month-long period, notice that the first ad had a click-through rate of 11.52%, where the second ad had 8.07%. So just over that 1-month period, we were able to increase his click-through rate by 3.5%. And also, that's a quick shout out, his CPA, $22.97, amazing. So this is an example of a search ad that I did where it's not necessarily the seasonality, but kind of updating the ads based off of what's going on in the industry right now. So kind of slowly transitioning, we were talking about before those were search ads. Don't forget about your display ads. So here's an example. As I was browsing some recipe blogs, coming up with some baking inspiration for my next recipe, I noticed these Stop and Shop ads. Stop and Shop, just a local grocery store here, which are encouraging us to come into the store and pick up summer ingredients, right? They're alluding to the s'mores is something they're going to eat over the summer, alluding to grilling, meals and deals for summer grilling. So they're kind of trying to get us to come in by putting into our mind that it's time to go and pick up s'mores ingredients, which of course I added onto my list of ingredients for next week.
Bonnie, you're making me hungry.
I know, sorry to the West Coasters that haven't eaten yet. And one more example I wanted to give you guys is, this is also a display, but just kind of actually pulling in more seasonality examples. So this is one of my car audio and electric shops. During the summertime, they experience higher volume searches for window tinting. So they update their ads to advertise the benefits of window tinting, like bright, sunny photos talking about cooling down. It's really hot outside. During the winter time, we actually flip it around because they focus more on their remote starters. So they're gonna update their ads with messaging like, getting into a warm and toasty car, or trying to stay warm in that cold Ohio winter, with a little bit of a darker scheme and showing pictures pictures of those remote starts. So kind of to quickly wrap it up, what I'm saying is it's always best practice to review your ads. The last thing you want is directing searchers to a landing page that doesn't exist, because believe it or not, that's happened before. And consider updating and refreshing your ads based on the seasons for not just search, but also your display campaigns. And I'm going to quickly steal Caitlin's thunder. She's going to talk about Facebook, but don't forget you can also season your Facebook ads too.
I'll let you do it this one time. Awesome. All right, well, let's jump into Facebook then. So what's a better time now than now to test and refresh? So Facebook is an expansive network that has a lot of moving pieces to it. A common question I hear is, Facebook isn't the right network for my industry. Facebook can only be used for remarketing. I'm B2B, so Facebook doesn't work. Even though this network may not be like a huge piece of your online marketing strategy, it can still be a crucial piece that will help complete your puzzle. So wanted to dive in and say it's time for a refresh. But like what Bonnie did, I'm just going to go over a little bit of the basics of Facebook advertising. So what exactly is Facebook advertising? So it's an expansive network, and a lot of people just kind of think of the newsfeed or the timeline as Facebook advertising. But what people forget is it also includes Instagram, it includes Messenger, it includes the Facebook Marketplace, and it also includes those stories that people are utilizing nowadays as well, to not necessarily have like a permanent picture on their timeline, but give like little, glimpses of what what they're doing throughout their day, or even like little glimpses of messaging they want to have. And there's also different elements of an ad that you could potentially test as well. So at the, in the squash right in the middle of it is the media. And we're going to cover a couple of different ways that you can express your media to potential people who are going to see your ad on the screen. This can include pictures as well as those videos as well. There's the headline, so that's like the builds what's next. That'll try to elude people to say like, hey, what are they going to do once they get to the page? And that also includes the call to action as well. So if you're more e-com, you can do like a purchase now, or maybe contact us, book a demo. We have the above image text that again will kind of like tell about the experience that people will have once they do click on the ad. And also there can be different types of content that we can elude people to as well. Now, let's address the elephant in the room as well. So COVID-19. To keep it short, this is a time that we never thought we would experience, and we need to make sure we're staying agile and respond to the market. Facebook advertising is no different, and we experienced some very interesting numbers. So in Q1 of this year, once the crisis hit, the average number of Facebook users began to increase. So think about it this way. Everyone is home and practicing social distancing. But we as human beings are social animals and need to get that connection sourced from somewhere. So why not Facebook and Instagram? Not just through the general newsfeed, but through stories, Messenger, live videos. There's that Facebook video, like the TV service as well. So multiple different ways we can try and connect to each other. But here's where things get interesting. Although the average number of users on Facebook increased, the amount of advertising dollars began to decrease due to the economic impacts and uncertainty of the world around us. So with a smaller pool of competitors who are advertising and a large number of audience of people on the Facebook network, we're noticing a reduction of certain KPIs in our client count. A great example is we notice our client base that goes across all industries has declined their CPA by 23% on the Facebook network. So if you thought about giving Facebook advertising a try, now is the time to do it. Now, if you've seen any other Wordstream webinars in the past, you may have stumbled upon this graphic on the marketing funnel, and it is right on theme. We're going to have a food theme. I think I'm predicting this, Bonnie. So whenever you're figuring out a type of campaign to create, it's always a good idea to take a step back and reassess your business goals and motivations for advertising in the first place. Now, something I've seen in the past is that sometimes advertisers get stuck in their ways, which can definitely continue the business as normal approach. But with our environment not necessarily being normal right now, why not try something new? If you advertised in the past for more of the bottom of the funnel approach, like maybe those remarketing strategies or catalog sales, maybe it's time to test out another campaign objective in tandem. Now, there are so many different audiences and ad types to take advantage of nowadays, so it really just takes getting outside of your comfort zone to give it a try. But let's let's go back to the ad copy side of things. So we've alluded to the funnel approach. So top of funnel, middle funnel, and then bottom of the funnel as well. So make sure if you are going to try out these new strategies, you also have to change up your ad copy and your messaging a little bit as well. As you see here, this is InnoSups. So what they do is they have different types of supplements on the Facebook network. And I will admit, and I'll talk about this in the future as well, I'm a sucker for a good ad. And I have actually been in the process of looking for something to help me sleep better at night. Not necessarily lose weight, but having that little extra sleep is always good to have. Now, this company, they could have just given me a promo code at the very beginning of my life, of my customer cycle, and try to get me on the website. However, instead of doing that, they started off with more of a top of funnel approach, and they gave me like a really nice ad that told me like what it was contained in the in the supplement itself, and of course, I clicked on it. After 30 minutes or so, I went back to the Facebook network after bouncing off the page, and I got this next ad here, which in a way was trying to nurture me back on the website. Again, I'm a sucker for a good ad. And after about a day, I put the product in my cart. I abandoned the cart as well. And then a day later, they showed me this promo code. So the main point I want to drive home is don't get stuck in one method of delivering your message. And don't just jump in and give someone a promo code either. Have it work with the funnel, not against it. So you can get people like me to purchase something pretty seamlessly.
Awesome. Moving on to copywriting tip for Google number 2 is ad extensions, ad extensions, ad extensions. So remember when we discussed how you can't directly control your ad rank and where your ad will show up? Well, you can control your ad copy, and you can also control ways to make your ad appear larger by applying what we call ad extensions. One thing to note about ad extensions is you don't get to decide if or when they show up, but ad extensions will take up that ad space for you. Again, Google runs the show, so they're not guaranteed to show up for every single one of your ads or every time your ad serves an impression. The bottom line, if all advertisers are going to be treated equally, then our goal as advertisers is to try to take up as much space as we can. If you don't take up the space, your competitors will. So also, if it doesn't cost anything extra to apply these ad extensions, because Google's just going to charge your normal cost per click. So why not give it a try? So I was recently searching online baking schools, if you guys are seeing a theme for our webinar today. And these are the 4 ads that came up towards the top of the page. Notice how much larger and more prominent this Lincoln Culinary Institute's ad is compared to the other 3 advertisers here. Google's included a phone number for the searchers to call. They have site link extensions directing to additional places on the website, as well as a few call out extensions towards the end of their description. So looking at this, what ad are you most likely to click on? Think of this in the context also of what devices users are using to search as well. So if I had done this on a mobile search, that first ad would probably have taken up the majority of the space before I had to go and scroll down. Ended up clicking on the link, haven't gotten remarketed to with a promo code yet, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, Bonnie, you're going back to school. Get that degree.
And also, so just a quick best practice here is apply as many ad extensions as possible that are relevant for your business, right? You don't want to apply ad extensions that don't make sense or are redundant for your business. They could all show up at once or not show up at all. One thing too is don't set these and forget these. This was when I was actually helping one of my car service clients. We were looking up ad inspiration in the local Boston area. And believe it or not, this was a site link that actually came up with blacklane.com. So keep in mind that while it's always a good practice to refresh your ads, you also want to refresh your ad extensions. Make sure your site links are taking users to a correct landing page. Make sure your landing pages are not giving those 404 errors. If you're using a call extension, make sure it's a valid business number. So you might be asking, there are so many different kinds of ad extensions. Which one should we prioritize? And the 4 that we would recommend applying would be site link extensions. So those are additional places on the website other than the landing page that you take them to through your ad. Call out extensions or quick 20-character snippets just at the end of your description. And pricing and promotion extensions, especially during the holiday season. Absolutely, if you have any discounts or pricing or promotions, make sure to always double check these and make sure to take them off when those promos and pricing extensions no longer apply.
Mhm.
Yeah. And one last thing that I wanted to point out is I did another search just for school supplies and screenshotted. This is the entire first page. So for school supplies, there were 4 different ads that showed up. And while the first ad is for staples, they had the first position, they had the largest ad, the most ad extensions. One thing I wanted to highlight is look at the last ad on the page, which is Michael's. Even though it's the last ad on the page, Google also served ad extensions for them. And there were actually some automated extensions that came up, like the rating, their location extension. So one thing we want to drive home is apply ad extensions. It's always going to help. And even if you don't show up at the first or the top of the page, if you show at the bottom of the page, your ad extensions are still able to show. I would argue that I actually might click on the Michael site because there are actual ratings here where customers have gone in and put their own personal ratings. So
Mhm.
go and add ad extensions.
Awesome. All right. So let's get into our second Facebook tip now. So catering to your audience without them even realizing. Generally speaking, people don't like to be advertised to, especially when they're just trying to post some photos or checking on their friends like status updates. But with the research showing that 47% of consumers have increased social media usage during the pandemic, and less people able to visit brick and mortar establishments, now is the time to try and get your ads in front of the right people to help satisfy and fulfill their needs, without them even realizing you are doing so. But there's a catch. A study from Microsoft showed that the average human attention span is now 8 seconds, which is a decrease from the 12 seconds we had back in the 2000s, which means that a goldfish has a higher attention span than us. um, that puts even more pressure on advertisers to make our ads stand out in just the right way when people are scanning through their news feeds. I mean, I'll even admit I would just scroll, especially after like a long day at work, something mindless to do. So it's time to, like be like trying to put the ads in front of the right type of person. And it's okay to be conversational. You should be. It's social media as well. So while you may not think like emojis or playful, copy can perform, you also want to curate an ad that people want to engage with. I'm sure I speak for others when I say that I love being catered to. And if I've already showed behaviors that indicate that I'm looking for a specific product or service, I want to make it easy. I want them to make it easier for me to come to a decision. Now, here are some of the tips and tricks behind the scenes. Don't push a direct purchase with little company product information to new users if you're e-com, or a direct product download if you're lead gen. Remember that tip I had before? Nurture people through the funnel. Don't just spam them with ads. The benefits of Facebook is how visual the platform is, and use that to your advantage. Sometimes it's like this Allbirds ad. It's a very simple one. He's just moving his feet back and forth, but it just shows like the flexibility of the shoes. And if I'm already in the market for them, this could be a great way for me to just simply go in, purchase it, and have something comfy to wear at home. Even if you don't really get them to convert right away, like a lot of people will abandon their carts, you can always reach them later. And also, testing is a huge plus to the Facebook network. It's very fast moving. And like Facebook is giving us these capabilities of having experiments run to test out different ad copy to see which one actually performs best. But you may ask, Caitlin, there are so many options in Facebook. Which ad should I start off with? Well, here's my easy answer: video ads. Especially because research from Adobe has shown that shoppers that view videos are 1.81 times more likely to purchase than non-video viewers. And just as a heads up as well, if you don't have the capabilities of creating video ads, maybe on your own, Wordstream does have a tool to either help you make almost like an animated slideshow. We pull in pictures and text and kind of make it your own with like a theme and music. And we also have a Shutterstock integration that helps you pull in video stocks or stock videos as well. Now, After helping multiple clients create video ads, here are my 2 tips before you go off and create your videos. Don't make sound a requirement. Coming from personal experience, I don't really listen to the sounds of ads too often, especially if I'm, commuting to work or even just taking like a quick break throughout my day. Usually I even have to go in and manually turn on the sound as well. A great way to get your message across without having sound is to add captions to your ad, which can help boost your view time overall as well. Also, make sure you get to the point quickly, especially within the first 30 seconds. I love a good graph, and you'll see this throughout my presentation as well. But Wistia did a study on video length and engagement. After analyzing millions of videos, they found that people watch more than 80% of videos shorter than 30 seconds. So the longer the video, the less people will watch. So be sweet, short, straight to the point, and you'll get a more engaged users to your website or even just like watching the ad itself.
Awesome. So for Google Ads copywriting tip number 3, we're going to talk about testing new ad copy with RSAs. So as you've been bopping around Google Ads or Wordstream, you might have noticed some recommendations on creating these responsive search ads. So we're going to go into what are these ad types. These were originally a beta setting that are now fully functional in Google Ads as well as in Wordstream. And I wanted to start with the anatomy of the responsive search ad, or I'm going to refer to it as an RSA. Now, this is actually similar to the ad type that we all know and love, our expanded text ads. So they're still going to serve 3 headlines, 30 characters each, and 2 descriptions, 90 characters each, along with that display path, again, that 15-character vanity plate URL. So the structure of it is fundamentally the same as an expanded text ad. The RSA has the same size, but the creation portion is different because Google lets you upload up to 15 headlines and up to 4 descriptions. So what's happening is Google's now letting you create these assets, and they're going to start combining those together. If you're trying to do the math in your head, if we have 15 headlines and 4 different descriptions, that could lead up to 40,000 permutations or ad variations. So you're going to think, okay, how does that help my business? This is an automated tool that's going to let you create an ad that will adapt to show more text and more relevant messaging. By having multiple headlines and descriptions, Google's going to test those different combinations and learn which combination performs the best. This means a higher click-through rate and more successful ads for you as an advertiser. So through ad copy testing, RSAs have boosted our customers' click-through rates 5 to 15%. And personally, as I've been working with my clients, we have been seeing that RSAs are either the highest click-through rate or the second highest click-through rate. And also it's an opportunity to potentially reach more potential customers by letting Google understand which search query is going to trigger a better ad that's going to drive a better click-through rate for you. Now, let's talk about some best practices, because if you're excited to start applying these to your account, I don't blame you. Keep in mind though, with those 15 headlines and 4 descriptions, they can serve any of those headlines with any of those descriptions. So as you're creating these assets, you want to leave out redundancy and make sure that all of the possible combinations all flow together. So if you're saying free shipping in your headlines and all of your descriptions mention free shipping, maybe we want to change up that original headline or change some of those descriptions around. It's still recommended to have 3 ads per ad group, but we're starting to test out putting 1 responsive search ad and 2 expanded text ads. Try to create unique and distinct headlines as you're uploading these assets. Don't just change one word between headlines. Test out using different taglines, using different slogans, maybe different emotions, maybe like an angrier headline or a happier headline or like a sadder headline. Ask questions in your headlines. Google doesn't want to see you just changing one of your words and counting that as a separate headline, because that's not going to be very different. And of course, just in terms of ad copy best practices, it's not specific to RSAs in general, but make sure that you're highlighting your highest volume or most valuable keywords in your headlines, because again, we want to make sure that as a user searching, we're catching their attention. So whatever they're searching for, we want to include in the headline or the descriptions.
Mhm. Awesome. All right, so this is my favorite tip that I'm going to give you guys today. I will admit, and I've said it before, I'm a sucker for a good ad, and Bonnie can definitely back me up on this. At this point, you should probably take my Instagram account away from me. Not only do I read and appreciate the ads that stand out, especially because I help, write them as well with clients, but I know that as an advertiser, I want to be be spoken to the right way. It'll make it easier for me to convert with them. So let me show you the ads that have really stood out for me this year, especially during this time of social distancing and COVID, and also as a TMI as the ad on the right might be or on the left may be, it really stuck with me. So as we all are aware, we encountered a toilet paper shortage this year, and some advertisers were scrambling to showcase their goods to help meet the demand. But certain industries like this fiber supplement advertiser and the bidet industry really upped their game and took a creative approach. Sure, I never thought the probiotic industry could be the hero we didn't know we need, but it worked, so I had to keep that for my records. However, this ad on the right wins the gold medal from me, hands down. Not only did it get me on the website to check out what this chonky seal is all about, but it made me engage with it in other ways as well. I took a deeper dive into the comments even before I clicked, and sure enough, it was riddled with women like myself who were either tagging their significant other or obsessing over how cute it was. So when advertising a product, we need to make sure that we're giving the audience a taste of what we offer even before we click through. Sure, I wasn't ready to buy a chunky seal for the first time when I saw this ad, but you bet I went into the comments, tagged my boyfriend, and tagged him in every other ad that I saw from this company afterwards. And Bonnie, just as a hint, he still hasn't gotten it for me. So,
Duly noted.
yes. If anything, this is going to help improve quality because you'll get the most engaged people clicking on your ads. Now, as you're advertising to people who may have engaged with your ad before, make sure you curate further ads to the customer journey. Did they research the checkout page? Did they look for the ultimate chunky seal? Tell a story while you nurture people back and keep them hooked. So if I've been on a certain area of the website, show me that picture instead. Because even though, at first I was looking just for the regular chunky seal, maybe in the future, or maybe like my behavior show that I'm actually looking for the super chunky or something. All right. All right. Also, this is something about Facebook. When in doubt, test it out. I know that I'm pretty sure the only behavior that aligned with the chunky seal approach was that I'm a woman. I'm probably into a little more of the nerd culture, so like Nintendo figurines and whatnot. But they probably did some testing and they were able to get a certain type of audience who would really appreciate their product. So unlike Google, where we're targeting keywords and intent-based searches, with audience structures, we're reaching people who either A, don't really know they need us yet, or B, have interacted with us but have not yet converted. We're maybe in that gray area somewhere in between. This creates a great opportunity as an advertiser to test out content and messaging that you think will resonate better with different audiences. Sure, maybe someone who's, like my mother's age, around 60, she might not necessarily, understand the type of messaging that's going on in that ad, but it definitely worked for me. So this tip kind of combines some of the strategies we've already talked about before and can definitely be a little more advanced. However, Facebook is so fast moving that, the best part about it is after a week, if it doesn't necessarily work out, that's fine, move on, but at least you gave it a try. So here's the point to kind of drive it all home. Now is the time to try out the ad copy that you have previously thought of before, while staying true to what your audience needs or doesn't know they need from you. Don't get too off brand, but advertise in a way that makes people remember your messaging. Sure, I didn't know I needed a chunky seal until I saw this ad. We're living in a time where we lack certain social comforts, so now is the time for advertisers to break through that wall and try and get people like me who might be, pretty excited for a product like this.
All right, guys, so we're down to Google Ads copywriting tip number 4, the wonderful world of display. So a lot of times as I've been working with my clients, after we've settled down and optimized their search campaigns, they'll usually ask kind of, well, what's next? What's the next step? And that's when I bring up the display network. Did you know that Google's display network serves 1 trillion impressions every month? This is across YouTube, across all of the blog platforms across the world, and across that #1 email provider in the world, Gmail. So why not test out display campaigns? With Google's audience targeting options, you can target all kinds of audiences, including in-market audiences, so people that user behavior have shown that they're ready to purchase or in the process of purchasing a product or a service. Affinity audiences, so the fashionistas, the bloggers, the fun foodies like me. Custom intent audiences, if you want to find specific websites based off of specific targets that are relevant to your business, and even targeting user demographics. So are there specific age ranges? Are there specific household incomes? We could probably do a whole webinar on just display targeting on itself, and we probably have, but just consider exploring the Google's display network. It also offers a really low cost way to show your brand's ads to large audiences because it makes up 90% of users on the internet. The great thing about display as well, your average cost per click will be less than $1. You heard me right. So stop thinking of search and display as two different platforms with different intent. You can align your messaging to nurture people through the marketing funnel. And this is kind of similar to what Caitlin has been saying, is we don't want to think of your Google search campaign as completely separate entity from your Google display campaign. The Google Display Network averages a 0.35% click-through rate. So while it doesn't necessarily drive conversions and people don't necessarily immediately click on your ad, these ad impressions serve an additional benefit. We found that after launching with our customers, after launching their first display campaign, clients on average see a 31% increase in searches for their brand on Google. So while the display campaign isn't going to drive conversions, it's driving awareness. It's getting your brand name out there. Consider starting a display campaign with a $5 daily budget. Remember, average cost per clicks for display are not super expensive. So if you wanted to experiment, you can start off with that $5 daily budget. Target relevant audiences or target the potential customers to increase your reach and increase your brand awareness. Again, not going to be super high converting. You're going to get your brand name and get your products out there. Once you have your display campaign running, you can pair it together with your search campaigns. So make sure you're bidding on your brand name. Make sure you're bidding on the names of your products. Make sure you're bidding on the most relevant keywords. So if you sell snow blowers, make sure we're probably bidding on snow blowers or best snow blowers. And pairing both of these strategies together will work to help uplift your brand. One quick note though is make sure your messaging is consistent across your ads as well. So if you have a display ad and you have a call to action or maybe a specific slogan or specific tagline, we want to see that that's also consistent in your search campaign because you don't want to have maybe messaging in this display campaign that isn't consistent with messaging in your search campaign. So we wanted to provide a real life example of a fantastic example from Wordstream. Here's an example of someone just looking for assistance with their Google Ads account. How can I make improvements here? And here's a WordStream paid search ad. Again, includes all these fantastic ad extensions. And notice how it mentions the AdWords grader, stop wasting money. And on the right-hand side, this is a display ad that is also mentioning the WordStream AdWords grader. So you see how your AdWords account compares to millions of others, save in PPC. So we would just wanted to give you a real life example. So really consider expanding into the display network to try to increase brand awareness and drive a little bit more clicks. And at that point, start combining this with your search to try to drive additional traffic and brand awareness for your account.
Awesome. All right, so the final tip of today's webinar, marrying the two networks together. Google and Facebook work hand in hand, they're buddies, and we can leverage the types of audiences and types of intent to make sure that we're getting people back onto your website. Now, I'm not going to shy away from saying that Google is the big name in the industry. But one way to increase branded searches on Google is to use its buddy Facebook, and we can't forget about Bing, to drive more intent-based leads, or to switch it around and try and get people to finish what they started on Google. Especially the fact that like the first point that I have here, and I'm even guilty of this as well. over 75% of users will abandon your site. I'm sorry to tell you this. Like I mentioned, we have the attention span of less than a goldfish at this point. So it's up to us to get them back. Regardless of which platform they come back on, we need to get our ads in front of shoppers to remind them that we're still here and we still have services and products available. A cross-platform approach is almost a requirement nowadays, with Google, Bing, Facebook, and Instagram being a great place to start. And here's kind of like the life cycle of a prospect as well. So we have a prospect will click on an ad, whether that be starting on Google or Facebook, and they'll go onto your website. Now, if you have proper conversion tracking set up, you'll be able to tag them. So that's good that you at least, have that information, and then they will likely leave. Now, if I'm this type of person, I probably will then go to social media, or I'll start researching something else on the Google Display Network. And all of a sudden, I should be able to see another reminder that I can still click through and go back to the website. So it's our job to get people back. We can't expect them to just always remember our name or our branded term. We have to put in a little bit of work. Now, Facebook is really great about like trying to get people back to the website because we have a couple different ways that we can set up audiences to try and get them back on through remarketing, or also known as retargeting. Now, you can do like a generic, like all website visitors, but you can also get a little more granular and do specific pages. A great example was the chunky seal I mentioned. There could be just like one product that has like a smaller seal. There could be like a gigantic one that maybe I could sit in as a chair or something. So if you can start to segment your audiences, you can then have catered ad copy to what people have already looked at and expressed behaviors and shown that they are interested in that as well, with through like regular remarketing or even dynamic remarketing that is an option using Facebook. But let's get back to the ad copy discussion. Just like what Bonnie mentioned, remember that not a lot of people know that we implement these strategies behind the scenes. I mean, you can, just because you guys are in the ad world as well, you probably hear of your colleagues saying, wow, my phone is listening to me. It's like I see the exact same shoe ad, or like the exact same shoe I was browsing on Amazon or something like that. So we need to make sure that we're matching our messaging on different platforms, because we will, your users will be all over the internet. This is where the age-old argument of should I bid on my brand name comes into play. The cross-platform approach showcases this need in the above pictures. Say I am looking to streamline my eBay business. Like I have multiple products and they're new and I have to retire them as well. This ad that you see here on the left, I encountered on the Facebook network, and it's an automation tool. Now, because I am part of the 75% of people who will leave, I bounced off after doing my research and I went about my day. And then I remembered, oh wait, I still have that need. That need doesn't necessarily disappear all the time. So I remembered the name and I typed it into Google and I saw this ad here. Now, the messaging in both of the ads align with each other, and they have that consistent messaging. That way, in my head, I remember that they're an automation tool, and they help out with saying goodbye to my manual listings. So I will click through, and I will already be back to a familiar brand that I once looked at before.
But wait, there's more. Similar to how Caitlin's been talking about how you can nurture people through the Facebook network, and we're talking about how you want to marry Google and search, how you want to marry Google and Facebook together. Remember, you don't just remarket on Facebook, you can also remarket on Google with display remarketing. So similar to how you're placing a Facebook pixel on a specific website or on the whole website or a specific landing page, you can also do that with Google. So you're remarketing to either anybody that has visited your website or a specific product or service. And to give us a real life example, here's me looking for best patio furniture as I'm going to fire up the grill over the summer with all the things that I bought from Stop and Shop. And here's an example of Overstock's ad about patio furniture. That they've served about their annual clearance event. And lo and behold, I went to go and just surf the internet just 20, 30 minutes later, and Overstock already served me a remarketing ad about all this different patio furniture. And they're highlighting, ships free, specific cost, so that I can make a little bit of an informed decision, or at least go back to their website and start browsing through the inventory, or really deciding if, okay, maybe it is time for me to purchase that patio furniture.
Bonnie, I'm going to have to have a second lunch after this.
My apologies. But let's move on to our final takeaways. So we've hit you with a lot of information today. And for the Google Ads side, really what we want you to know is review your ads during upcoming seasons, holidays, industry updates. Make sure that you're applying and testing out ad extensions and the new tools, responsive search ads. And also don't think of search and display as separate entities.
And then for Facebook, so make sure you don't get stuck in your ways. Sure, there's certain like strategies that work better for specific industries. But with all like the users, like the average amount of users like increasing on Facebook, now is the time to try something new. Just make sure your ad aligns with the area of the marketing funnel and your business goals. Also, be creative. You saw those ads that I showcased before, and there's multiple other ones out there. There's other people like me who are a sucker for a good ad, and if it's speaking to me without me even really knowing, it's going to compel me to convert. And also, align your messaging and have the networks work together. People say, okay, I'm going to start on Google, and I'm going to do Facebook, then I'm going to do Bing, but why not do it all together and have them work in harmony with each other? Awesome. And that is the end of our webinar, but I'm going to pass it back over to Amanda.
Thank you, ladies. That was awesome. I was on mute during that, but I definitely laughed out loud a couple of times. So I thought your graphics were great. Thank you so much. That was amazing information. But it was a lot, right, everyone? Like that was so much. We definitely had a array of different skill levels, starters, beginners, experienced, all on the line. We have tons of questions coming through, but I did just want to launch this offer that I have for everyone on the line today. Some of you in the chat were expressing interest in like, I'm just getting started, like I don't even know where to begin. Please take us up on this free marketing consultation if you're in that boat. We actually also have a special version of this for our agency folks on the line, so don't be scared away if you feel like you're advanced. Use our experts. We have tons of people like Bonnie and Caitlin at Wordstream that are really experienced in this industry and can help you look at your data, look at your metrics, and decide the perfect strategy for you. I know we had one question on the line that's kind of a great segue is, do these strategies hold true when you're talking about, those big ticket or enterprise level deals, maybe like elder care or college, something like that? Do you think this still holds true for that?
On Facebook, I would definitely agree. I'm thinking more of like the college route as well, like within every single season, like there's going to be, like the holiday classes people can take, especially like if there's certain things trending in the market as well. So like right now, I know that data science is huge for universities, and same with computer science or boot camps that people can take. So you can have the seasonality of Google and Facebook kind of work into this, as well as like the remarketing strategies could be beneficial. As well as you can get like a little bit creative nowadays when it comes to these types of enterprise services. I'm thinking more senior care. Like it's a very difficult decision to try and like figure out like the best place maybe to either relocate yourself or maybe relocate a loved one. But if you know that the people are going to have like really clear and maybe even creative messaging to put you at ease, like this could be a great way to try and get like a new segment of the audience coming through to your website.
And to piggyback off that, personally, I do have some higher education or even just private high school kind of clients. And absolutely, one thing we always talk about is making sure you're applying the most relevant ad extensions because, and also kind of talking about users coming through the funnel. So if somebody's looking for, a business school, they're still looking just in general. They don't necessarily, they're not committed to anything. So using remarketing and maybe remarketing them with specific content or, hey, the reason you should come to our school is because of our acceptance rate or, our graduation rate or success rate. So kind of making sure that you're a- targeting people based off of what they're searching for, creating that funnel, and remarketing is always, always, always a great idea.
Awesome. And then I'm just going to bring it back a little bit more high level here. Could you just quickly go over some of the main performance indicators like CTR, CPC, and just break down a couple of those for the beginners on the line?
Yeah, Caitlin, should I take that?
Yeah. How about you take that because it's a little more Google heavy.
Okay, sure. Are there specific metrics? So just like what cost per click is or?
Yeah, so I had one person specifically ask about CPA a couple of times, but
Okay.
but maybe just, yeah, let's do like CPC, CTR, CPA, those three.
Okay, absolutely. So cost per click, one of our slides was essentially how much, so when you're running a Google or even Facebook account or campaign or Bing, it's a giant auction. So you're choosing what you want to show up for by choosing a keyword in the Google example. So cost per click is how much it's going to cost for your ad to show up, and that's how Google's going to charge you as an advertiser. Click-through rate is a metric that rates how many times your ad is served is called an impression. Now, not every time your ad is served will somebody click through, and that's where a click-through metric comes into play, because it's telling you, well, if 100 people saw your ad and only one person clicked, then that's a really low click-through rate. But if 100% saw your ad and 98 people clicked, you're going to get an awesome click-through rate, which tells us that that content is really relevant. Talking about cost per acquisition, or CPA. CPA is essentially how much do I need to spend to get somebody to convert? So how much do I need to spend in Google Ads advertising dollars? So how many clicks or how many average cost per clicks do I need to get somebody to fill out that form or put in their email or come and call my business? So what we always want to do is obviously work towards the lower CPA, but it's a really good indicator of, which of your keywords are actually converting for you.
And it's also important to know as well that like different industries are going to have different, like I guess like different benchmarks for all of these metrics as well. And we have a great series of benchmark articles out there for Wordstream, not just for Google, but for Bing and Facebook, because each platform is going to behave a little bit differently, and each industry is going to act a little bit differently as well.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah. And you can find those on our blog. And I'll also try to link them in this chat box while we're here. Awesome. So we have a few more minutes. There was a lot of buzz about the ad extensions portion of this. So one question, let me ask a couple of questions so you guys can just talk about it for a little bit. One question was specifically about rating and reviews extensions and if that was still available. People were wondering if you thought that call only ads were worth it. I know that's a little bit different, but keeping that call extension on there. And then finally, I believe the other question was just like, oh, if you can pick which ad extensions show up or not, a refresher on that.
Awesome. I'll start with the first one, which is if rating extensions are still available. So they are, but they are an automated extension, and you have to fit certain requirements in order to have Google automatically serve these for you. So if you're looking for a resource, look up automated extensions for ratings, and that'll give you a little bit more of if you're viable to serve those with your ads.
I can cover the call only ads as well. So kind of like, I guess, like there's two ways to kind of get your phone number on your ad itself. There's the call extension and there's the call only ads. Now, as long as you have that phone number, you can put that call extension on there. However, there are some people who really they don't really care about getting people to the website. They really just want to get that phone number and that's it. So here is a great reason why you'd maybe want to do call only ads. So it does work better for specific industries. Think of the the plumbers out there. So if I have a burst pipe in my apartment and it's like water's going everywhere, I don't really have time to go on a website and research different plumbers. I'm going to look up plumber near me. I want to see a phone number and I need to call someone right away to get them here. So if you kind of fit that industry, or even that type of niche where there is an emergency service that maybe you really just need to drive phone call leads, call only ads could work. However, you have to make sure that you have them set up the correct way as well. Make it really clear, make it, have the points be very apparent on your site. Make it so that people don't have to go and click anywhere to realize what they're actually, calling. And also make sure that someone is on the other end to answer the call. A bit something that I noticed is we have calling campaigns or calling ads, and maybe after 9 to 5, the business shuts down, no one's there to answer the phone. And if someone's going to call, no one's answering, they're just going to go to the next person who has that phone on there. So make sure you have ad scheduling enabled if you don't have someone to answer the phone after hours.
Cool.
And Amanda, what was the last part?
A refresher on if you can pick which ad extensions come up or if that's served by Google.
Oh, okay. That's a really great question. I always talk to my clients about that. So you can apply as many extensions as you want, but Google's only going to serve a certain amount of each extension. So what I tell my clients is, similar to negative keywords, you can apply these to the whole account, so your whole Google account, or apply them to a specific campaign, or apply ad extensions to a specific ad group. So you can get as granular as applying specific site links to just one ad group and then having different site links apply to a different ad group. And that's a really great opportunity to make sure that you're serving the most relevant resources to what users are looking for. So I would say it's not, you don't want to apply like 100 site links to maybe to your whole account, but you want to have those 100 site links and figure out what's the most relevant part, or where in that user's journey does it make the most sense to apply that specific site link, whether it's maybe 2 or 3 ad groups instead of maybe the whole account. So that's one way that you can kind of not necessarily control, well, you can control it. Google's still going to automate, but you have a little bit more granularity as to what site link is going to show up.
And a question I get as well is like, well, if I am going to start focusing on like which what extensions, like which one should I prioritize at the beginning? I did like an independent like research with one of my a couple of my colleagues, and we found that site links and callouts show up more than 50% of the time if you have them enabled. Not just as it like the site links like broken down like what you see on the first the first position on the page, but they could also look a little bit different on other sections of the page. Bonnie showed that great example of Michael's that was at the bottom of the page, but had beautiful ad extensions on there. So I always say like they're free for you to enable, try and test them out as well. But if you don't have a ton of time and you want to make sure you're prioritizing, site links and callouts are king.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And they are brilliant as we see, but I know there was a lot of questions on like how to, maybe specific to your industry. Please, please, please take us up on this offer on the screen. And that way we can really take some more time to dial into your metrics, your industry, and show you the true how to and step-by-step process of extensions and testing audiences and the other questions that flowed through today. And with that, I'm going to give our presenters a couple minutes back because they both have clients to take care of and calls to get to. But thank you, Bonnie and Caitlin. You're brilliant. This was awesome. This is one of our best webinars of the year for sure. And thank you everyone for joining us. And we hope to see you on our next live webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.